University, and it's very, very interesting that I actually went to talk with my husband to talk about Bitachon, trust in Hashem, which in and of itself was like almost like a surreal experience, because we felt like we're walking into the epicenter of Tuma and Klipa and everything that's anti-truth and morality and godliness, and to talk about God. So it was very, very surreal, and it was a very interesting experience, very beautiful. I think we accomplished whatever we needed to accomplish. But it also gave me, a lot of perspective that there is a world out there that really sees things very, very beautiful, very differently. And two regards of what I found. First of all, there is I would say like 95% of the people, maybe even more, maybe 98% of the people that were in the talk were super receptive and like excited, and it super resonated with them. And the amount of one-on-one feedback that we got at the end, like we stayed, close to an hour talking to people at the end, like one-on-one. It was really, really beautiful. But then let's say the 2% of the people who like resisted the message, who was, so my no, nothing, not at all. My audience was not Jewish, secular, part of a master's program called Spirituality Mind Body Institute, which in and of itself is it's a place of spirituality, of people trying to find nurture a spiritual side of their life. And like I said, 98%, I would say, were like really, really keen to a message of a relationship with the creator, and not just a serving reality, and as an exclusive reliance on the care and the love of the creator, rather than an exclusive reliance on our own capabilities and the world of nature and everything that implies. But on the other hand, there were still very strong voices, a big minority, but still very, very vocal and almost like aggressive, angry voices at the idea that there is a creator, at the idea that there is a God. It was really very eye-opening how much we need to be a Kiddush Hashem, and how much we need to really reveal God's presence in the world, because there's a world that's there's a world that's still in the dark, that really believes that there's nothing beyond us. And it was I guess it was quite shocking, not because we don't know it, but because it was just so front and center. And I would say the other thing was also the way not only that we as Jewish people live with a very strong and keen awareness of God, right? We are in a relationship with Hashem. Our whole entire history is about a very, very close relationship with Hashem, intimate relationship with Hashem. But also, we also know on a very deep level that we are not just bodies with a soul, but that we are souls with a body, and that our real reality is spiritual, and this is just a passing through the physical world, and that it is our soul that is come here to accomplish something. And sometimes that something might involve physical pain and discomfort. We're as Jewish people, we're not foreigners to challenges, aren't we? Right? We definitely know exactly what it is to struggle in the physical world, right? With persecution, with disease, with illness, all that. I don't have to mention it. We all know what we're talking about. And yet, however, we always rise above that. Number one, because we have God, because we know there is a creator that somehow has an explanation for all of it, and we remain steadfast in our commitment to him. But also because we know this physical discomfort is not it. Like my real reality and identity, we self-identify with our soul, which is the truth. We are souls. So I think that is also very lacking. That was also something that I noticed. That was very shocking in the way we view the world and our own existence as souls in this world who are here to accomplish something, and not just as physical beings that therefore should not have a struggle and should not suffer and should not have pain. So there was a lot of very interesting debate at the end. Thank God I heard from the audience later that we managed it very gracefully and very beautifully, and people were very inspired and very moved. But it was intense. I think that would be the word. It was also very fun. My husband and I had a very lovely, fun time on stage, and I think it was a Kiddush Hashem. It really was a sanctification of God's name, to really present as a couple, as a religious couple, as a couple, very, it really was. So anywho, so that was my experience. And with that, let's start. What I want to do today, actually, thank you so much. So what I want to do today is I want to go back to Rabbi Sutton's beautiful, wonderful book, and I want to do actually chapter 15. It really spoke to me at this time. So let's go to chapter 15, page 68, and let's talk about this idea of chesed elyon, so a higher level of chesed, of kindness. As I'm talking about this concept of us having a higher perception and tapping into something higher, that I feel like a lot of the world is still lacking, unfortunately. And it actually behooves us to be the models. We have to model that is a way of life, and a real, oh good, you got the book, wonderful, and a real way of life, and not only like real way of life, a real reality, right? Like my reality is not just my body. My reality is my soul. My reality is not just the world of nature. My reality is something way greater than nature, the creator of nature, right? Einot milvado. There's nothing else but Hashem, right? That's my reality. And the cynicism about, and even the inner voice within ourselves that tells us to be, oh, come on, be realistic. That's just a cynical voice. That's just Amalek. It's doubt, and it's not the way that a Jew lives. So let's talk about Chesed Elyon. So here the pasuk in Tehillim, it tells us the following. He says, because the king trusts in Hashem and in the kindness of the Most High, that he will not falter. Okay. So we're talking about the king. Let's see what we're talking here about David HaMelech. The simple meaning of this verse, says Radak, is that David HaMelech relies on nothing other than Hashem, right? We know that. Oh, good, my sister-in-law's here. Fantastic. So he relies on nothing other than Hashem, despite being surrounded by adversaries, not adversaries, but advisors. So yes, he has advisors and he has servants, and you can imagine he has a whole entourage of the intelligence, right? The intelligence of the king, right? Or you can imagine the governments, the leaders have a whole committee of people, intelligentsia, right? So despite the fact that he's surrounded by these advisors and these servants, despite commanding a powerful army, right? He has all these phenomenal resources. Who does he rely only on? The Chesed Elyon, the kindness of the Most High. Okay? So that's who he's putting on his reliance. And this is going to talk a lot about this element of kindness. If we remember from the Gate of Trust, and again, these principles are so important. The 7 qualities of Hashem the 7 qualities that make any entity reliable and dependable, right? Like by logic, you would not put your full reliance and dependence on anything that wouldn't fulfill all these 7 qualities. And the 7th of that quality, and by logic, we understand after we study them that only Hashem has them. But the 7th of that quality is that this entity has to be extremely generous. It has to be like pouring and full. It just flows. There's just a flow of abundant kindness that doesn't end, whether we deserve it or don't, right? It's extremely generous to the deserving and the undeserving. And we know that is true, right? If we actually stop being cynics for a second and really look at our lives and the chesed that is everything, the sunlight, the air that we breathe, everything, the health that we have right minute, everything that's fine. It's all a kindness. We seem to think like, oh, what do you mean? It has to be. No, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It's just a kindness overflowing, right? The beauty of the world, everything around us. It's very interesting because in life, I think everything is what you focus on. It's like something like this, It really is. It's just a matter of focus. Now I put this up, right? What do we see? Anybody want to say in the chat?
No.
Paper. Thank you. Beautiful. A blank piece of paper. Now, if you look closely, or if somebody with a different perspective than wonderful Linda, who's an amazing student of this class and of beyond this class, I can't take credit for Linda's beautiful qualities, but somebody might say, no, I see a black dot. I see a black dot. But the reality is that if you want to, you can focus on the black dot. But if you focus on the black dot, you're missing the entire white piece of paper that Linda's telling us about, right? All the blessings, everything that you have at this moment. Yes, everybody has a black dot. There is a black dot. It's what you focus on. And in reality, when you live with bitachon, you are able to change because your whole perspective now is on the gratitude for the white piece of paper, for the blessings. What happens is, because it's a mirror effect, right? Hashem makes the black dot disappear. That's the highest level of bitachon, right? And that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe was trying to get us at. That's what the Shar Bitachon, the Rabbeinu Bach is trying to get us at. That level where you tap into the Chesed Elyon, where you tap into literally you are tapping to the highest level, be like breaking anything that is trapping you in the natural world. So and that really is the exercise. The exercise is trying to constantly staying in that consciousness of God in my life, and appreciation of everything that God is doing for me constantly. It's a constant dialogue. So it's so interesting how Hashem is constantly talking to us, really in such a beautiful way. But we just have to open our eyes. So let's go back inside here to page. I see some new faces in the room. And welcome to my sister-in-law. It's good to have you back. I know Chaya is new to our class, so welcome, Chaya. So let's go back to here where we were. For those of you who just joined, we are on page 69 on chapter 15. Okay, so now this is Hashem. This is Hashem, guys. He is above everything, more powerful than everything, right? And this is part of like what I was saying, like we believe it with such conviction, and the resistance was like, there was so much anger in that minority, because really I don't want to talking about don't focus on the black dot. There really was overwhelming positive response, but it's really shocking to see that there is a minority of people who have such anger and disdain towards this generous, caring, loving Father that you and I in this room know. And that you and I in this room have a relationship with and want to be in a relationship with. And there is such a, to the extent that it's the existence is self-serving, and it's all about me. So again, that was the third element that I saw. I knew I was missing one. That was a little bit of that was the third element, that this idea that yes, there is this, we were in this spirituality mind body institute, but again, what is spirituality if there's no concept of the creator of everything, ego? So again, if you don't understand that you are a piece of the creator, going back to the soul element that I spoke about before, right? It's just a self-serve. You're just me, yeshus. It's just a piece of, you're just serving yourself. And again, that's what we were talking about before with the body and the soul. So anyway, so he's above everything. He's more powerful than everything. He can choose to elevate whomever he wants. His chesed never falters. It's ever flowing. It literally is ever flowing. And when you understand bitachon, we understand that who allows it to continue to flow, or God forbid, who stops the flow? It's us. We know, right? The Rebbe told us many times. It's written in the Zohar. Reb Zusha in its beautiful book, the Noam and Limelech, that his brother put together, also talks about it. We are the ones who close the faucet, unfortunately, right? The faucet is there. When we have bitachon, the faucet is open because it's ever flowing. When we don't, we close the faucet, right? David HaMelech told us, is Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your shadow. When you trust in him, He's responding in kind. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? It's this idea that we talked about before with the nursing baby. One of the points of that analogy that we mentioned is, how does the mother's milk work? It's demand and supply. The more as the baby continues to demand milk, the milk is going to keep flowing. As soon as that baby is not interested in the milk, the flow of milk stops, right? So there are many other ideas in that analogy that we can explain again another time. I don't want to get too distracted, but that's one that comes to mind right now. Okay, so therefore, David HaMelech relies on Hashem because he knows he's reliable. Like, we have to know, just like David knew, that he is reliable, that he's the only entity who has those 7 trustworthy qualities. He is, why am I blanking now? I'm not allowed to blank out. Okay, I'm not about, guys, we have to know this. Like it has to roll out of our mouths. Okay, what are the seven trustworthy qualities of Hashem? I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to actually, I'm going to look at my notes. Okay, so he's loving, right? The first one is his loving, compassionate, right? He has compassion, pity, and mercy for me. It's all love. I can't trust an entity that's not coming to this relationship from a place of love, right? So that's number one. He's attentive 24/7. Remember that point, guys? 24/7 attention. Again, this is straight from the Shar Bitachon. Okay, attentive 24/7. He doesn't slumber or sleep. He doesn't hit the snooze button. He didn't miss your WhatsApp message because you were on the plane from New York to LA. 24/7 attention. He is strong to the point of invincibility. Nothing is stopping him. No recession, no depression, no tsunami, no hurricane. Nothing can stop him. And it makes sense, right? I cannot put my reliance on something that can be stopped, that doesn't have enough strength, right, to do whatever it is that I'm relying them on. And on top of that, he has to be wise, meaning he has to have an understanding of what is actually good for me, whether I can see it or not, whether it's obvious or hidden. If he doesn't have that depth of wisdom, this entity, I can't rely on them, right? They have to know everything about the matter that I'm relying upon, about me, and what's good for me from that, right? And on top of that, they have to have such an closeness and such a track record in my life. It has to be such an intimate a track record, a closeness, that they know me from beginning to end. Because again, otherwise, how can I rely on them if they don't know me with such in such an intimate way? They have to know me. So not only they have to come from a place of love, mercy, and compassion, and they have to be strong, and they have to be wise to understand what's really, really good for me, whether I can see it with my physical eyes or not. But they also have to know me really, really well from the beginning, more than my parent, more than my father or mother. This entity has to know me even more than them. And not only that, but he has to have sole sovereignty over me. If there's somebody else who could actually help me, then they are not absolutely foolproof reliable, right? They have to have sole exclusive jurisdiction and responsibility and sovereignty over my life. And lastly, they have to be, what we're discussing right now, they have to be extremely generous, whether I deserve it or don't deserve it. That generosity has to be constantly pouring. How can I rely on an entity who doesn't constantly pour chesed and kindness, right? So it has to be flowing. So all those conditions have to be there for me to trust in that entity. By definition, none of us know anyone in the realm of creation who can fulfill those things. So hint, hint, who is the only one? It's very, very logical, right? It's Hashem. So now David HaMelech knows this. He knows Hashem is the absolutely most reliable entity. There isn't anything else. Everything else is not foolproof, as we all know and we've discussed so many times. So therefore, he relies on Hashem. So the Shar Bitachon further explains that a key principle of Bitachon is to understand that God's kindness is forever, regardless of whether we deserve it. Okay, that's point number 7, extremely generous to the deserving and undeserving. Therefore, David HaMelech has no reservations about relying on the chesed of God, who is Elyon, most high. So look at that. This is very beautiful how Rabbi Sutton put it. He has no reservations. So how many times we're like, oh, well, okay, so I'll rely on Hashem, but really, but he didn't do for my sister-in-law, but he didn't do last time, but we start. No, this is complete surrender. Complete surrender. That's the type of relationship That's real trust. When you really trust, you're completely surrendered. No, you don't hold back. There's no reservation because it's full, complete trust. Moving to a deeper level of understanding, we learn from the Reishis Chochmah why Hashem's constant kindness does not always seem to translate into peace, happiness, and prosperity in this world. He explains that Hashem supervises the universe using two systems. Okay, so let's talk about this, and we can get a little bit into the Hasidus, and we understand that there is a higher level of revelation and a lower level of revelation, right? And we obviously want the highest level of revelation. So let's see. One is called Hashgacha Tachtona, the lower supervision. There's always supervision, right? And if we remember from the introduction of the Shara Bitachon, one of the things that happens when, God forbid, a person doesn't trust is that Hashem removes his supervision. What does it mean that he removes his supervision? It's right there in the introduction, okay? Obviously, he cannot leave this world and he cannot leave you. Otherwise, you would cease to exist. Hashem is constantly creating, okay? Hashem is not a creator who created once and then stepped back. Hashem, we are being enlivened every single millisecond. So there is constant ashgacha, constant supervision on every single thing. What does it mean that he removes? It means that he steps back. It means that he remains more concealed than he is concealed. He is supervising, but it's a world of concealment. If it wasn't concealment, then we wouldn't be able to exist, right? That's the whole kindness of Hashem, that he concealed himself in order to allow us to exist. It's all a chesed. And again, we slap them in the face constantly, right? This world is a world of concealment because Hashem in his kindness conceals himself and contracts him and contracts himself and contracts him. So many myriads of contractions. If we learn Tanya, maybe one day we should do Tanya class, right? In order for this world to be able to be here, he steps aside. Now, we have the ability through actively looking for Hashem and revealing him to peel the layers of concealment. So what happens when we don't? When we don't trust that there is a creator that is running the show, and we put our trust and reliance on the world of nature, which is a world of concealment, what he says is, okay, I'm going to stay hidden. Okay, I'll be supervising you and enlivening you constantly because I want this world to work, but I'm going to do it behind the scenes. So there is a world of concealment, and it's very important for us to understand this idea from the introduction of Shara Bitachon, that we have the power to live in a world of revelation. And like we were saying before, when we have bitachon and we're actively working on our bitachon, our relationship with Hashem to such a level of trust, we see that Hashem is constantly talking to us. It's just something, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It really, really is. We have the ability to step into that reality. And you see, oh, I do live with Hashem. Hashem is real. But there's some people who literally feel like he's not real, and I don't blame them. They don't want to see that it's real, so they want to stay here. Okay, look, if you want your life to be your body, your table, your computer, okay, so be it. I want my life to be something much deeper. Do you know what I'm saying? I have much greater aspirations. So I choose to live in another world, and it's a happier world. It's a calmer world, because what happens is what we said many, many times. Because we know subconsciously that all these other things in the natural world that we're putting our reliance on, our diplomas, our Columbia University master's programs, our money, our bank accounts, our connections, our wisdom, our smarts, our brains, our body, all these things, we know deep down inside, they are not foolproof. And because we know it deep down inside, it makes us very, very nervous. So you want to know the root of everybody's chronic anxiety in the world is something very, very deep within, that it's an inner knowing that what I am relying on is going to fail me by definition, because creation is limited. So innately, everybody knows from the depths of their soul that what they're trusting is set to fail. So how could they not be nervous, right? So again, it's all a spirit. We talk about mental health crisis, by the way. And again, I'm not going to discount how important it is therapy and all the things. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. But really, at the core, okay, this mental health crisis, it's a spiritual health crisis. And it's funny, that's what Dr. Lisa Miller, that we were just talking about, the fact that I was at Columbia speaking for her program with my husband, that's exactly what she's trying to combat. Okay, that's the whole premise. As a psychologist, she's trying to bring this consciousness that we are not just meant, that really we're spiritual people, and we are wired for spirituality, and the entire mental health crisis is a spiritual crisis. So, okay, so back to Bitachon. So one level is the lower supervision, in which the chesed, the kindness of Hashem, is sometimes restrained. We experience this as hester panim, as concealment, when the Jewish people are not deserving and God seems to be hidden from us, right? So we know that, and by the way, we are in a time, let's not even kid ourselves, it is hester panim, okay? It is. It's just that there are times when we see a higher level of revelation, okay? We can see the hand of Hashem, but overall, by definition, galut, exile, is hester. It is. That's what we're yearning for. We're yearning for a time when there is no concealment, where it's only revelation, where everybody, even those people that I met over there at Columbia University, they can see just as clear as day, even clearer than me, right? Because I'm going to be able to actually, now I only see it because I refine myself and I work on myself and I teach this and I learn it every day. I'm trying constantly, right? But I'm not really seeing it, okay? I'm not, my physical eyes don't see it. One day I'm going to physically, everybody in this room is going to physically be able to see it. And even those people, maybe those people will be even, well, they won't see it more than the Yidden. I shouldn't say that, okay? But they'll be able to see it as well, okay? So anyway, so at such times when we experience this concealment, we respond by saying, Hashem, awaken. Why are you sleeping? Right? That's the call of Galus, right? Wake up, Hashem. Wake up from your slumber, right? We know in the Megillah, when the king woke up, right? Who's the king in the Megillah? The king is Hashem, right? It's not mentioned directly, but the king woke up from his slumber. And that's when the story starts turning around, right? Then we start seeing that the concealment starts turning into a revelation for the Jewish people. Even then, however, at the higher level, which is the Reishis Chochmah, calls Ashkacha Eliona, Hashem's chesed is always in full force. So even though there's a lower level of supervision at its highest form, of course it's all chesed, because he's always giving. That's how we exist. That's how everything exists. It can't exist if he's not allowing it to exist. He is bringing it to existence. Who is creating it if it's not him? So at the higher level, that chesed is constant. It's just that the way if we go back to Tanya, the way it gets filtered through the Seder Ishtalshelus, the order of creation, it gets very, very concealed. Now, a Yid has the ability to go, by the way, above the entire Seder Ishtalshelus. So anyway, so back to this. So Hashem's chesed is always in full force. He says that whenever we use the word bitachon, we are appealing to Hashem's chesed Eliona, the source of kindness that never ebbs. That is bitachon. Bitachon is not just saying, whatever Hashem, I trust in Hashem, and whatever Hashem does is for the best. Okay, that's good. That's true. That's true. Bitachon is so much more greater than that, and that's the call of the day. The call of the day is to really go to the source of kindness that never ebbs, like he's saying here, to God's chesed Eliona. That is the bitachon that is needed. This concept can be compared to a water system. Before I go into this, one second. And by the way, it's needed more than ever, because if we want to finish the job, if we really want to get to the finish line already, like we said when the war started in class, we said that we're experiencing the birth pangs of Mashiach. And we said that Mashiach is going to come no matter what. We know it. We know it. And because we as a Jewish nation are so focused on the destination, we know it, we're able to withstand the birth pangs. However, we also know that we are active participants. And if if we really engage in what we need to do in this world, we can ease the pain of those labor, of those contractions of the birth pangs, and we can expedite the process. We can expedite the labor, right? So we've talked about why this analogy. I actually put the analogy in writing, so it's going to come in the newspaper next week. So I just finished the article, so it's fresh in my mind. But it really is thanks to the class that we gave after October 7th. It took me this long to actually kind of like really solidify the analogy and put it in writing. But you'll see it when it comes out. I'll be sure to share it. So anyways, how did I get here? How do I get here? I can't even remember, but let's go back. The concept can be compared to a water system. Imagine a reservoir. I love this analogy. Imagine a reservoir of clear, fresh water that never runs dry. It feeds pipes that take this water to various water treatment plants and households. The water company can cut off the water or reduce the amount that flows to the plant and the households, but nothing can limit the supply in the reservoir, right? Because we said there's a reservoir that never runs dry. So even if all the piping system is established, when you close the piping system, right, or reduce the amount of flow, but at the source, it didn't disappear. The water didn't disappear. When the Jewish people are worthy, we receive Hashem's ashkacha straight from the reservoir, and when we're not, Hashem controls the spigot. Okay, so this is a way to look at it. I'm a little bit more Hasidic than this in the sense of like I take a little bit of a more positive approach. Deserving or not, the kindness is there. Shara Bitachon told us this 1,000 years ago. The idea that the Rebbe brought back so many times is we are Bitachon opens the spigot, period. The spigot is flowing. It's a mirror effect. We open the spigot, okay? And we have the ability to live lemala mina teva. We can live above nature. We can. We really, really can. The higher, never-ceasing level is what David HaMelech is invoking in this pasuk when he appeals to Hashem's chesed elyon. That is what it is. He's living above nature. And with Bitachon, we too can break the barriers of this world and live under Hashem's direct supervision. And like we said before, it's such a better way of life. It's a calmer way of living. It's a joyful way of living when I know I'm taken care of and I know the problems of this world are not real. I live in the solution, not the problem. Now, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, wow, it's always easy. Look, recently I had it's very funny when you were talking about the trip to New York. Not only was I exhausted, I had just been sick and I had to go to the New York and present the next day. And you can imagine with everything that's been going on in my life, how much time we really had to present, and we're overachievers. So we had to prepare in the PowerPoint presentation and the nerve that add to that I know I'm going into this very spiritually dark place at Columbia University, right? But on top of that, I had a very, very pressing matter. And I have to tell you, I got a phone call that was really, really like unsettling. And it was actually so silly. It was a financial problem. Guys, financial problems, take it from me, please. The money coach and the money, they're not problems. They're not problems. Like now, but at the moment, it seems very real. Okay. It seems. And what's the struggle? What's the struggle? The struggle is the Yael that's pulling me to that's real. I have to solve this financial problem. How am I going to solve it? Right? When we go immediately to the how. And that's the problem, because the how is Hashem's. All I have to do is say, okay, Hashem, you're sending this. I don't have the solution. You know I don't have the solution. It's all you, and I have to put my full reliance on you. You're going to take care of it just like you send it. And I'm going to choose to live in that place of you having taken care of. In the place of the solution, I don't live in the problem. Now, that demands a tremendous amount of mental work. And this is why we learn this every week. And it also demands us to be honest and seeing when we're off kilter. And I can tell you, when I was dealing with all the stresses of the trip, plus being delayed in the airport and exhausted and this weighing on me, and not even having my husband to share it with because he had gone in the plane earlier. So I was like alone with this mental burden. The conversation in the brain, it was heavy. And it was also what I was saying before is that having the honesty to catch yourself when you're faltering, meaning I knew that I was nervous. I could feel it in my stomach. I was like, my body was like, I wasn't settled. And I knew, and I kept breathing and I kept saying, Yael, it's okay. It's all going to work out. It's all Hashem. And I kept trying to remind myself. And it was very interesting because Hashem's kindness, if I had gone in the right plane, I would have gone straight to well, the plan was that we were going to go straight to the Ohel, but the planes were already delayed. So then my husband who made it to the earlier plane, the earlier wait list, he made it to the meeting, but he couldn't go to the Rebbe's Ohel before. So he had to skip the Ohel in order to make it to the meeting. Now, our original plan is we go to the Ohel and then we go to the meeting, but that wasn't going to happen. And then it wasn't even going to happen for him. It for sure wasn't going to happen for me, because I was now arriving much later than him. But because now I had missed the whole meeting, and anyway, it wasn't that important that I should be in the meeting. It was more important that he should be at the meeting. I was able to go straight to the Rebbe's Ohel. And it's so, again, timing, Hashem is so kind. At the moment that I needed the most to be in a place where I could be in a mental place where I could really, really work on my bitachon and really, really connect to Hashem and be on a higher level, Hashem sent it to me that I was able to be there, and I was able to be there alone. And I was just telling my friend Margie, I prayed a mincha that afternoon. That, like, I don't think I prayed like that, a mincha like that, in a long time. Like, it's all good because, like, when you're there, like, you don't care what anybody thinks. We're all there, like, it's all neshama at this point. So, like, the tears are flowing, right? Like, between the problem, talking to Hashem and giving, and then I go into the ohel after davening mincha, and I'm saying to him, and I'm crying and I'm crying and I'm crying. Okay, I'm telling you this so you understand. Okay, it's work for all of us. Okay, but we have to engage in the work. We have to be honest with ourselves and say, no, I'm not going to succumb to this. This is bigger than me. And I have Hashem. Okay, but we have to go through it. We have to really engage in the relationship and ask Hashem, help me through this problem and help me, give me the bitachon to not be nervous, because that was part of the conversation. I know I shouldn't be nervous. I know more than this, right? You can't go into this mental space. So anyway, so I'm there and I'm having my conversation and I'm talking to Hashem. I have my Tehillim and I'm crying, and I come out of the Ohel. And whenever I come out of the Ohel, that's it. Like, I feel like Hashem, like I left my burden, that my package is, I was in a place where I really feel like Hashem, the prayers go straight, right? I wash my hands and I turn around and somebody's looking at me and says, Yael Trusch? And I said, but at this point, I don't know if the makeup is running. I look like a wreck. I've been up since 2:30 in the morning. It's now 7:30 at night. Okay. You can imagine I'm a wreck. I probably have, like, I don't know what I have, mascara all over. I don't even know. Yeah. I say, yes. He said, and this person says, Yossi Pels. I said, hi, Yossi. Guys, who know Yossi Pels is? My friend Yossi Pels, but I never met him in person. He's the publisher of the Shar Bitachon.
Yael, you had a share.
I did.
And I'm the queen. That's a huge.
I'm glad I saw it, because I'm thinking maybe I'm overreading this. I never met Yossi. Like, what? Hi, it's Yossi Pels. And I'm like, hi, Yossi. How are you? It's so nice to meet you in person. And I said, Yossi, it's a very long day. He said, I hear you're talking about bitachon with your husband tomorrow. I'm coming. And I said, thank you. I'm so glad you're coming. Yossi, it's been a very long day. We'll see you tomorrow. And that was it. And I was like, okay, Hashem, I got it. I got the message. By the way, Yossi doesn't even know this story yet. I haven't even told him. Okay. But it's like, okay. And you should also know that before this book came out, Yossi himself sent me, I can even show you, it was a bound little, here. I treasure this, okay? This is before it came out, when Chayenu was only publishing it like every week, a little bit of a piece of the Shar Bitachon, and then he put together this thing and he mailed it to me, okay? Thanks to my friend Margie Scherer, who asked him to mail him to me. He mailed it to me. We didn't know each other. I have, like, this thing is marked and underlined. Look, it even has Post-it notes, okay? Look at the underlines, right? I love this little thing. This is the precursor to this, okay? And I hadn't, in a very long time, that I'd been in a place of such, like, lack of trust that I knew it, that I was crying to that extent. And then Hashem just sends me Yossi Pels. Can you imagine? Alexia, you have a question.
Yes. Also, my question is,
I don't understand the word. I don't understand the word. With what?
Oh, yes, the following. Sorry.
That is not to say that he's not here. He is here because remember we talked about this again. This is going back to Shara Yichud Ve'emunah, the gate of unity and understanding of Tanya. Okay, he's everything. There's nothing but Hashem. So, however, we don't see that. In order for us to have existence, he has to take a step back. That is not to say that we don't have the ability to perceive that higher reality that Hashem is here, okay? And when we open our lives and when we refine ourselves by doing Torah mitzvahs, that's what we do every time that we're doing a mitzvah, we're peeling layers of concealment. But when we do it, when we actually do them with real intention and we're really God-centered in the mitzvah and in everything that we do, we're doing for the name of Hashem, for the sake of Hashem, with Hashem in mind, we are completely peeling the layer. And that's what we're talking about. That's why I said, I have a friend who, she is like the most connected person. And I'm telling you, sometimes I say, Pato, like literally, we all know it. Hashem is constantly talking to her. And it's not that she doesn't have struggles. She has plenty of struggles, and a child with special needs, and this one, and the marriage, and don't ask. The struggles are real, and the visa that doesn't come through, and am I going to get deported? Struggles left and right. But she lives with such a consciousness of Hashem in her life that is like all inspiring. And because she does, it's like we always say about Sherry here in the room, right? Hashem is constantly talking to her. And it's like she lives one miracle after miracle. Like when things don't seem like, oh my gosh, how is she going to get her visa? Like I see all the doors are closed. And then everything happens. How is her child going to come out of the hospital? All the doors are closed. And then everything, how is she going to sustain this marriage? It's unbelievable. But it's because she lives that way. Okay. So it's all Bitachon is all about the relationship. That's the key word in this class, relationship. That is the key word. Again, and we have to remind ourselves that in the word Bitachon is that word tach. That is the shorish, that is the root of the word. No, Bitachon is certainty, it's insurance, it's guarantee, it's reliance, it's dependence, right? All those words are connected to the word Bitachon, right? Betach, Bitachon, Bituach, all of those words that we know. But at the core, it means tach, it means cemented, plastered, right? But tach is a plaster, it's like a cement, like in Spanish is yeso, okay? So what is it alluding to? It's alluding to the fact that Bitachon is about a cementing of the one who trusts with the one who is trusted. It's a cementing together of a relationship. That's what we're talking about. When we are in that mode of cementing the relationship, we live minateva. We live above nature. That's when we are able to tap into the talking about that he was able to tap into. Okay. Important. And it's very interesting. When I was in New York, I bumped into the girl and her husband who shared the story in my husband's Gate of Trust podcast. I forget their name. So this beautiful couple who dealt with infertility for a number of years, and they came to talk about Bitachon. And he said that throughout his experience, he understood that there's no such thing as a no, that no is actually never an answer from Hashem. And the way he explained it is beautiful, and I'll share with you guys in the newsletter the episode. But I happened to bump into her, and I happened to see that she's pregnant, Baruch Hashem. And she stopped me. I was talking on Shabbos afternoon to a group of high school girls, and she happened to be there. Maybe she's a teacher. I have no idea. As I was leaving, she says, Yael, whatever her name is, and I was on your husband's podcast. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you. And I want to tell you that that episode that you and your husband did really, really touched me and touched many lives. And I always live with what your husband said, that there's never a no. That's not an answer. And I'll even add to that, and you can share with your husband, I said, I've learned in my life that there are only 3 answers from Hashem. Number 1, yes. Number 2, not now. And number 3, I've got something better. Those are the 3 answers. There's not no. And if you're really, really honest, if we if we stop the cynicism, okay, and we're honest and look at our lives, we will see that that is true. We perceive it as a no, and we get very cynical. But the reality is, if we're very, very honest, we're going to see that it's always been either a yes or a not now, right? It came much later, and that's a problem. We're impatient. Or I've got something better, honey. And tell me, guys, if it's not true. I've got something better. Now, of course, we can argue that for some people it takes a very long time to see what's the better, okay? But we cannot let the cynicism get to us, okay? That's the other side of us. Okay, so now let's talk about good kindness. So,
and because for me, I mean, I just accept them. I know that as no.
What you're saying, right?
So
the answer is, I've got something better. You have the humility to understand that you're limited in your understanding and you cannot see the chesed of Hashem clearly, right? But he's all chesed. He has something better, right? Just like when you have to, in parenting, we see it all the time with our children, okay? Sometimes we have to give a no, and we have to redirect the child to a place that they don't want to be, but it's only because I know better. How do I know better? Because I was you, and I remember being 16. And I know that if I let you go down this path, it's not good for you. I know, right? It's perspective, the only perspective. We have zero perspective. We have myopic vision. So I hear Hashem. Hashem is telling me, I've got something better. And you're saying, and I go to that place of emunah and believe that Hashem is the one who knows everything, and he's only good. And I can trust and rely on him. And that now becomes a bitachon. Okay, so beautiful. So now, oh my goodness, we didn't even finish the chapter. This is so good today. See, we have to have like 3 weeks break for like to come back on fire. Okay, so the Sharei Ora defines Chesed Elyon as one of 2 different types of Chesed. Its source is the Mekor Elyon, the highest source, where kindness is unadulterated by any possible negative side effects. Such kindness is called Chasadim Tovim, good kindnesses. Nothing negative can come of it. If it comes in the form of money, it will be money that brings bracha. If it comes in the form of children, they will be children who bring nachas. With this, we can better understand a pasuk in our Amida that we say every single day. In the first bracha, this is so beautiful. In the first bracha, we call upon Hashem, the name of our avos, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The next 3 descriptions of Hashem, and if you remember, and I should have brought the siddur to look at it inside, but we say that Hashem is Hagadol, Hagiver, Vehanora, and they correspond to each of the avos. Then we reach Kol Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim. We do not refer simply to Kel Elyon, obviously, Kel Elyon, but to Kel Elyon, to Hashem Elyon, because it's from the aspect of Hashem that is Chasadim, from where the Chasadim Tovim flow. By addressing Kel Elyon, we are expressing our bitachon, declaring that we trust completely in Hashem's ceaseless kindness, the reservoir that is always overflowing with goodness. This trust makes us worthy of Chasadim Tovim. 1 minute, I want to get one siddur. I want to show it to you guys inside while you chat. It's funny because this siddur is not the one that I use every day. This is an old siddur. It's the first siddur that I had when I became from. Okay, here. Yeah. Oh, where am I? Okay, sorry. Okay, here. Ha'el Hagadol ve'Hagivor, here. Okay, the great, mighty, Hagiver, ve'Hanora, an awesome God. Kel Elyon, exalted God, right? He's from that highest level of God. And we continue, Gomel Chasadim, who bestows bountiful kindness. Gomel Chasadim Tovim, that's what he's saying here. That place of that higher level of godliness is where the chasadim tovim, not just the good, but the good, the tovim, the one that is completely revealed, it comes from that reservoir. Okay, so it's above nature, above the limits of nature. In the world of nature, the good is concealed, right? We don't know, like Alexia is saying, we don't always see it, right? But we are appealing in that first bracha, we're already appealing to what? To the highest level, where the kindness is flowing unadulterated, completely unadulterated from that pool. So by addressing, so we read this already. Okay, so we're tapping into that reservoir that is always overflowing with goodness. This trust makes us worthy of the chasadim tovim. That's what makes us worthy of it. That's we go to that place with complete trust that there is that reservoir, that kel elyon, and that makes all the chasadim tovim flow in an unadulterated way, in a miraculous, beautiful packaging. Like we say in Rosh Hashanah, right? We say Shana Tova Umetuka, right? So the question is always like, why do we have to say Tova and sweet? Like, what's with the sweetness, right? Because the year is always going to be good. We can look at this year and say, oh, really? Right? Really good? Right? It's very hidden, lady. It's really very hidden. No kidding, man. It's super hidden. But we wish each other that it should be umetuka. It should be and sweet, not just like good year, and it should be a sweet year. Why sweet? Sweet. The idea is, you know, when somebody offers you a candy or a dessert, do you know that it's sweet? You know it. You don't have to taste it to know it. You see it. It's so obvious that the thing is sweet, right? It's obvious. So it should be good that comes just like that delicious candy, that delicious treat that is so obviously sweet and decadent that you might even say, I can't touch it, right? It's not on my Weight Watchers points or whatever it is, right? You know it's sweet. You don't even have to put it in your mouth to know how sweet that thing is, okay? So that's the kind of year that we want, okay? So we want that kind of revelation. Obviously, we're not going to get into the topic that we haven't had that year. However, actually, I should say, amidst the concealment, we have seen a tremendous amount of revelation. The unity, the miracles, we can make, I'm sure I have a WhatsApp. Actually, I think it was you, Alexia, who gave me that WhatsApp group where it's all good news and it's all the miracles in those groups, because again, it's sensitized, because it's so easy to focus on what happened to my paper. My kids came and made a note too. It's so easy to focus on this black dot, and especially when we have a really, really black dot like this year, right? But we have to fine tune, we have to sensitize ourselves. And that's why instead of, tuning into the negative news and whatever, we go into these groups like Alexia sent me with the Israel Good News, and the stories of revelation, and why we come to class and we share our stories and we call our sisters and we tell them what happened and look what happened. And then I run into Yossi Pels, look, Hashem is here, Hashem is talking to me. We have to cement it in our brains, okay? So that it becomes really, really real and we don't stay stuck in what is real, right? What we consider real, which is this table, this nature, these bills, this financial transactions, this computer, this whatever, this problem in the business, the lawyer, the whatever. Okay. Moshe Chacham Sofer and the Sefer Tiferes Shlomo observe that it is especially remarkable that the king relies on Hashem, right? The king relies on Hashem. The king is everything. A king can command whatever he desires. He has more resources at his fingertips than anyone else. He has the army, the advisors, the money, everything he wants. Even so, David relied completely on Hashem. He knew that no matter what he managed to achieve for himself, it would be good for him only if it came from Chesed Elyon, right? It's coming from Hashem. And that's it. That's where I'm going. This is the case for us as well. We might clearly see the need to rely on Hashem when we're trying to buy a house. Oh, well, Hashem, send me the right house and this and that. But guys, it's not just that. We rely on him for everything, to keep the house, to pay the house, to live in the house, to be alive in the house, to be healthy in the house. It's constant. It's constant kindness. But we take it for granted, right? That's the trick, right? To not take it for granted, to be in a constant state of appreciation, because we don't just need him to buy the house or buy the car. We need him to live, to be this moment breathing. Okay, so he continues. However, we have to realize that we need Hashem in order to keep the house as well, right? Meaning, again, we need just to stay alive in the house, we need Hashem. Just to be breathing and healthy in the house, we need Hashem. And just to be able to walk. We will be able to afford the payments. Will the property tax double or interest rates soar? Will the neighborhood remain stable and safe, et cetera, et cetera? The point being, you don't just need him for the one problem that you want help with. You constantly need him. But if you're in a relationship, it's not about the needing. It's about the appreciation, right? If you're in that state of a cemented relationship, it's not about the need. It's, I'm so grateful. I'm in constant awe of the kindness and the chesed. And that was David HaMelech, in constant awe of the kindness and the chesed. We need Hashem's constant kindness to keep the gifts that we have, not just to obtain what we want, right? And it's a shift in perspective. That's the reality when we actually can stay present in what we have. And again, that's actually what triggers that we will get what we want. That's the exercise. That's the exercise. This is David HaMelech's powerful message. Bitachon means relying on Chesed Elyon with confidence that a ceaseless supply of good is ours for the asking and for the taking and the now, by the way. We have it now. So that's our class for today. Oh, thank you for putting the Israel Good News WhatsApp on the chat. Highly recommend. Any other comments or questions? No, we're good.
It was
Hey,
like
ladies, so have a good Shabbos. It's good to be back, and I hope everybody has an amazing Shabbos, and I'll see you next week. Yes.
I can send it to you by WhatsApp, Linda, if you can get it.